Hello everyone, we're going to take a look at order of operations. This continues, this time with absolute value brackets in there, okay? So let's take a look at my tablet and see how this looks. We've got 23 minus 3 times the difference between 6 minus 3 times the difference between 2 and 7. So let's take a look at how that's going to break down. So first of all, you might want to flag the operation, so let's try that. So we have an operation here, we've got multiplication implied here, another subtraction operation, another implied multiplication operation, and subtraction. So this is a 5-step PEMDAS problem. And these absolute value brackets are a type of parentheses, so we want to work inside those, and then we have these are nested. So our first operation is going to be inside the most deeply nested parentheses. So our first operation is here. It's the subtraction, which is usually low man it's usually at the bottom of the pyramid. And that's where we're going to start. And let's evaluate it. We'll get -5. I'm going to keep those parentheses around there. And then just copy the whole thing down. And I really recommend you do each step separately, just to avoid problems. The idea is to get as high a score as possible on the test, so just get really confident in this algorithm, which is just a way of approaching a problem, simple steps to follow. Okay, so next thing, our second step will be the multiplication. Let's go ahead and put all these in. Second and then third will be subtraction, because we're still inside those absolute value brackets here on either side. Then we go outside the brackets, we've got multiplication and then subtraction. So these go just in exactly reverse reading order. So this is kind of, they've set a little trap for you. They're trying to get you to just start doing the problem. And then they do this where the implied operations, multiplication, you might forget that that's there. So if you write those in, that'll be a little insurance to help you get the correct answer. All right, well, anyway, this is the order. We're going to go from right to left. It's like reading Arabic script or something. So now we're going to do 3 times 5, and I'm going to suggest when you see, just keep that operator associated with that number, okay? We've got a couple of subtractions going on, but these are going to be multiplied by something before the subtraction. So if you keep that operator here as a sign, we can just avoid a lot of confusion by just saying, okay, this is a -3, same as a -3. -3 times -5 is 15, right? Negative times a negative is a positive. And then that's positive 15, right? And so then we bring down the 6. So whatever the sign of your new number, the product of these two numbers, that will be your new operator, okay? And depending on the signs of the two numbers, your product could be positive or negative. And then let's bring down the rest of these. Let's keep that in a circle. All right, so we're still in the absolute value brackets. We have +6 plus 15. That's going to give us positive 15. So let's just put, positive 21. We're going to take the absolute value of that. And we're going to multiply that by -3. But first, and I recommend doing this too when you have absolute value, removing the number from the absolute value brackets should be a separate step. Just treat that as a separate step for insurance. And let's write that down below. Any number that comes out of absolute value brackets becomes positive. And it's a way of measuring distance, calculating distance. If you think about it, you can never be closer to anything than 0 distance, even in the matrix. You can't have negative distance, and they use subtraction to determine the distance between two objects. And absolute value, because it doesn't matter which number you subtract from the other. Subtraction always shows the difference between two numbers, and even if they are positive and negative, you will get the same number. One will be positive, one will be negative, but by using absolute value brackets, that value always becomes positive, so then you know the distance. We'll talk about that more when we do absolute value work. But let's copy down the rest of these numbers. We have a multiplication symbol, we have a -3, and we have 26. All right, so here we've got -3 times 21. That's -3 times positive 21. The product will be negative, so you can put a negative sign down here. And then 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. -63. And we bring down the 26, and we find that we have 26 minus 63. And if you sign your number, put a little positive sign there, you can see that the signs of these two numbers will be different. So we're going to take the difference between those two numbers. So that means 63 minus 26. Borrow 1 from the 6 makes 5. 13 minus 6 is 7, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So 37 is the difference between these two numbers. And the number with the larger absolute value, 63, is negative. So our number will also be negative. So all of this evaluates down to 37, negative 37. So let's see how we did. Negative 37, and enter, fingers crossed, we did it. Okay, so go ahead and try that. And I do recommend that you flag all your operations, treat your negative subtraction, or if it's addition, just treat that like a sign on that number. And then you keep the that absolute value when you bring the number outside those absolute value brackets. Treat that as a separate step, and you'll get one more step. It'll look kind of like this. Oops, now it's disappearing. Well, you'll see a screenshot anyway later. That adds an extra step, so 5 operations plus the absolute value brackets. And give it a try and see how you do. It may take a few tries. If you get stuck, be sure to message me from inside WOMAP. I'll try to get back to you in 24 hours and give you a hand.